Our next speaker is Dr. Marco Pelosi III. He and his father created the specialty of cosmetic gynecology and head of the International Society of Cosmetic Gynecology. So he's very well published and has given many presentations in this field. And today he will present to us how to start a cosmetic gynecology practice or how to include it into your aesthetic practice.
Thank you, Oscar. Pleasure.
Thank you for sticking around. It's the end of a long day here, I suppose. How many gynecologists are here? And how many of you, just put your hands up, are going to be doing cosmetic gynecology procedures for the very first time? All right. I do a lot of consulting work for companies that sell products in this industry to doctors who have never done this before. They come from a traditional gynecologic background. They want in on this hot new trend, but what they're missing is a background in cash-based services and dealing with the discussions that are unique to that sort of environment, because it's not a third party footing the bill, it's the patient. So you feel a little guilty sometimes that maybe you shouldn't be making money off of this, or maybe there's something insurance-based that the patient may want to try first. And these are all issues that anybody who gets into these services has to tangle with. I'm going to give you my perspective from talking to patients for many years, from doing these procedures for many years, from discussing online with patients. I get the real, people on the ground kind of vibe as to what their experience is talking to doctors that are in this for the very first time. And some of the mistakes that you make as beginners that you can easily bypass. Just a little bit of listening to somebody who's been doing this for a very long time. So I'm going to share a little bit of all of these issues, pearls, so hopefully you can get going on the right foot but without stumbling too much. If you want to reach me, the easiest way is to reach me through my website. And you can find all sorts of contact information there and information on the procedures in general. Well, if anything, there has been an explosion in the information related to cosmetic gynecology procedures online, in the print media, in conversations at ACOG meetings, everywhere. It seems that everybody has an opinion on these things, but very few people have the real information. It's sort of somebody's telling a story about a story about a story, and the next thing you hear is the patient says, I have cancer, I want to have a procedure for you to get rid of it with your special treatments. There's a lot of disinformation out there. We have a lot of patients that just want to be in on the latest thing. They feel that they might be missing out on something. They want a piece of cosmetic gynecology. And they're not even sure what cosmetic gynecology is, but they think that they want a piece of it because they're afraid that life could be a little bit better if they get a piece of this hot new trend that lots of people are raving about. Now, you guys are a part of this group. I have friends, very conservative doctors who do very well. A friend of mine, Rob, that I went to med school with, has a 10-man OBGYN practice, does very, very well. But 2 years ago, he gave me a call, and he said, Marco, I want to get into these vaginal rejuvenation lasers. And I said, Rob, what's wrong with you? I thought you were doing well. He said, I am doing well, but when I sit down and I look at my numbers, I have 10 people to feed. And every year, they're squeezing me harder and harder and harder, so I just have a regular problem multiplied by 10, and I see that I need to get into some cash-based services, because sooner or later, I'm going to reach volume max. There's only so many hours in the day before you're out of time, and you have to lay people off. He wanted to get into it, but he wanted to get into it in a logical way. He didn't want to just buy a machine or something and just say, I have a machine, let's start using it. He didn't want to make mistakes, and he didn't want to become known as a cosmetic guy. I'm sure some of you people are in the same boat. You want to fly like the ACOG guy or the ACOG woman. And you maybe not so much into the cosmetic side, but you realize that these things have a cosmetic side, and you just want to understand it a little bit better. Part of it is, what are we talking about? What are the procedures? What are the treatments? Where is the integration between cosmetic and therapeutic applications? How much can we actually do? in our offices aimed at what we call the rejuvenation issues. And it's all about this. Okay, there's the surgical side of things. There is the non-surgical, there's the machine side of things, there's the hormone side of things. It's a multi-dimensional subspecialty. And it's getting bigger every year. You come to a meeting like this, and the technology side of things, of course, it is being tossed around everywhere because that's who's paying for the meeting. Right? And it's good stuff. There's a machine from one part of the country, there's a machine from another part of the world. All these technologies are making advances. It's becoming more user-friendly, prices will drop because of the competition. So now you're even more confused because you don't know which machine to buy. Should I buy all of them? Should I buy more than one? So all of this stuff comes into play, and you don't have to do it all. Okay, you absolutely do not have to do every single procedure in the cosmetic gynecology armamentarium. You can just do whatever you think that you want to do, but you have to see where these pieces fit in the bigger picture. We have the aesthetic surgical procedures, the least surgical of which would be liposuction. We've got corrective surgery that falls into the aesthetics. We've got the most commonly performed procedures, the labiaplasty surgeries. We've got the injectables. And they're easy to do. That's a double-edged sword. They're easy to do, so there's a very short learning curve, which means that anybody from any specialty, from any profession, can just pick these things up and start doing them. And when you get into a device or a technology that can do therapeutics and aesthetics, and you start doing the therapeutics outside of your specialty, you ought to learn a little bit about the problems before you just jump right in. I'm on Real Self all the time, and people get very eager about promoting their services on Real Self. And we get people that are head and neck specialists saying that this machine will absolutely cure your incontinence. And every time I see stuff like that, I just cringe, because I see these poor patients going in and getting just basically swindled, no evaluation. They say, let's just cook it and let's just see what happens. But it's not just see what happens. You're being promised that these things are going to work. And then they come to my office and they say, I had 75 of these treatments and it did nothing. And I do an evaluation and I said, maybe because your problem had nothing to do with that. You probably had a chronic bladder infection. Of course I'm not going to work. So this is the kind of stuff that if you're outside of the specialty, it's not hard to learn a few little basics of evaluation so that you wind up treating the people that are best suited for these procedures. Or finding out that the marketing pitch from the company isn't reality, it's just a pitch. All right, now, what's making the industry go absolutely wild is that in the mature segments of aesthetics, general aesthetics, there are 5 non-surgical procedures for every surgical procedure. If you look at the ASAP stats going back to the beginning of ASAP stats in the mid-90s, there's always been this 5-to-1 ratio. In a given year, there are 5 times as many patients. Last year, there was something like 13.6 million procedures out of that survey alone. And the non-surgicals were well over 11 million. But the cosmetic gynae market is 10 times the size of the entire aesthetic market. So they're going absolutely crazy. If I have a patient right now who wants a cosmetic gynecology surgical procedure, I can guarantee you there is at least 5 who want non-surgical services. Why not? You don't have to take any time off from work. It's cheaper. You're not going to have any surgical injuries, any infections related to healing, no time off. The procedures are cheaper. Just like Botox versus facelift. They don't do the same thing, but who the hell wants to suffer through a recovery? There's a huge market of women that exceed the 5-to-1 when this market matures. And the reason for this is that a lot of these devices will cure childbirth issues and menopause issues. Every woman will be in the menopause. Every woman will have vaginal atrophy. And if they know that there's something that can improve the condition, they're going to go for it. They're absolutely going to go for it. How long have you been in menopause? 40 years. It's a long time to be suffering from something that's reversible, treatable, and curable to an extent. Childbirth issues, as well as the more common and more traditional aesthetic issues. We're looking in the United States alone at a market of 90 million women, okay, versus the 11.5 million of the entire aesthetic market that's here today. That's huge. The industry is going absolutely nuts. Just in the US, not counting Canada, not counting Mexico, not counting Europe, Asia, the rest of the world. That's crazy. It's no wonder that the industry is pushing the devices. And unfortunately, when you go into a meeting, you are meeting the top salespeople in the country, the stars of their companies, whose job is to sell you products and to show you the smoke in the mirrors and the rainbows and the unicorns. They're going to kill you. Okay, they're 10 times better at selling these machines than you are at understanding what the machines do. You better realize that. And don't go home with the big machine and then wonder, how come nobody's coming into my office to do the procedures? The need for cosmetic gynecology procedures, the want to improve the sexual condition in the literature goes back almost 2,000 years. This is from a book from 1000 AD from Italy. And in that book are treatments to tighten the vagina with astringents, with rags placed into the vagina, written by women. So that's how far back it goes. What we have now is the innovation adoption cycle playing itself out. In the early 90s and mid-90s, the doctors that were first getting into this, they were spit on. They were the people that were getting attacked by ACOG and by everybody else. When we put up our first booths at ACOG, people would literally say, what's wrong with you? Why are you doing this? I can't believe that you're doing this instead of helping people with gynecologic issues. And I said, you'll come around. And, sure enough, they did. Now we're in the early adopter to almost into the early majority. We're almost cracked into the conservative people. I would have never seen at meetings like this 5 years ago, gynecologists in regular practice coming to these meetings. It was absolutely something you never saw. But now you have layers and layers of people doing procedures you might even know one. And people are curing atrophy. They're curing lichen. So now you're scratching your head and saying, lichen is really tough to treat. People are having success with these outside-of-the-box treatments. This is what's going to steer the early majority to start accepting these procedures. We're fixing problems that couldn't be fixed by ACOG. And once this catches fire into the whole majority, that's when 90 million women are going to be treated with these problems. But cosmetic gynecology is not a machine. I have this thing on the internet where I just bash people who put out these statements. Say, you're a mindless machine owner. You go out, you buy a machine, and then if there was one case report that it does something, you become the seller of the indication. It's going to cure this. It's going to cure that. It's going to cure this and that. What happens over time, not only does that doctor lose credibility, the technology starts to lose credibility because patients are being treated for these things and they're failing the treatments. So you got to be careful with this. Integrate means that you offer a continuum of services to the patient. Just like the patient that comes in for Botox and fillers. They always keep coming back. Why? Because there's treatments that go on and on and on. It's not a treatment, it's a relationship. It's sort of like a life coach. We sell a lifestyle. Enjoying your menopause years sexually. Enjoying your mommy phase successfully. We're in the cycle. You fix, you maintain, you prevent. And everything in this cycle requires the help of your coach, your cosmetic vaginal life coach. Well, that's what I am. That's what you want to be to these patients. You want a relationship with these people that goes on and on and on. A Botox patient is worth about $1,500 to $2,000 a year. Okay? There is no reason why those same patients can't be the same thing on the vaginal side. They already think this way. They're already in tune with having the doctor help them out with non-surgical services to preserve, to maintain, and to fix. It's the same mindset. So if you're already in an aesthetic practice and you don't have cosmetic gynae services, you're going to find this a very easy transition because it's the same people, it's the same mindset. We're all on the same team. It's not a, I'm selling you a service. No. Together we're going to get you through all of these points in your life. So the big theme is the big theme that has always been the theme of aesthetic services. Look better, feel better. Now, we're going to be doing the same theme down there. Look better, feel better, right there. And who wouldn't know this? Well, my favorite recipe for integrating the service, because there's a lot of people who buy these services and start selling the services, you have to establish yourself as the expert. maybe scratching your head, well, you guys are experts, you've been doing it for a long time, I'm not an expert, I just bought the machine. You have a background in something. You are expert in something. Obviously, you make a living doing something. And you have to leverage that background as your basis of credibility for everything else. If you're a meat and potatoes gynecologist, you're a menopause specialist. So you focus on the menopause side of things, and then you start branching out. Because you're going to have a lot of success, because you already know how to manage this stuff. You're just adding another procedure into the bigger package. So you're the expert. You also have to let the patients know about the services. My first machine was FemiLift. And I was already known as a cosmetic gynae in my area, but I wanted to spread the word about the new procedures. I said, how can I do this in a quick and easy fashion? I could run an ad in my paper for $500. Quarter page, black and white. They're going to see it once, they're going to keep turning. There's nothing there I can really put on about vaginal procedure in a regular newspaper. Well, for $500, I bought 4 probe covers for FemiLift, and I called 4 salon owners. I brought them in. I gave them the PowerPoint, I gave them a presentation, I showed them the machine, and I said, you can have these treatments on the house if you talk about it to your clientele. We were packed to the rafters. And so they were spreading word. They're cutting hair, they're painting hair, they're doing nails, and they're talking FemiLift. So they can do the same thing for all of the services in your package. You already know these people. They're probably their gynecologist or their dermatologist. That's how you create awareness. And then you have it coming out of their mouths. Because no matter how much money I put into a newspaper ad or any ad anywhere, it's the word of mouth from the people you've treated that actually sells the services. And it's a quick and easy way to hit them. If you hit somebody in an industry that's already talking to people who spend money to look good. Haircut in my town, if you're a woman, it's $400. All right, that's half of a FemiLift session. You have to be accessible, and you have to stand out. These are all good elements of any business. You have to be able to show them the relevant education. Okay, so to work that background into your advantage. Proof of skill. You're working on the salon owners. Social proof. They're talking about it. You're asking them to review it, online. And then the customer service. I don't care how much a treatment costs. Bad word of mouth is terrible for business. So I'll do treatments on the house. If a treatment doesn't work, I'll say, we'll keep doing it until it works. Or until we've done it so many times that we know that for you, it doesn't work. Part of doing the procedures is learning from experience which patients you're going to work on. Like I said, if you don't have a background in the procedures, or in the indications for the procedures, own up on it. It's not that hard. You can go to a gynae meeting if you're not a gynecologist, they're going to throw you out. But we're targeting performance, comfort problems, and in the comfort, we're going to run into gynecologic issues. The services are going to be medication sometimes, physical therapy sometimes. I have vaginoplasty patients that come in with nerve damage and they have no muscle. And I already know that a vaginoplasty on these people isn't going to get the results that it's going to get if you have muscles. So I already know from the get-go we're going to integrate physical therapy with these people because that's the only way we're going to improve anything beyond the surgery. Treat only what you understand. If you don't understand lichen, don't treat it. Send it off to somebody that treats lichen. It's in a practice that's focused on it, you're going to be a magnet for lichen. If that's not what you do every day, you're just waiting for the lichen that comes in at random, you're not going to be seeing a lot of lichen, which means every time you see one, it's going to be the one that I saw before was 8 months ago or 2 years ago. That's not really experienced. Pass it on. Incontinence, another issue. Most of the people that talk about incontinence and treating them with these devices or with these methods have a background in the treatment of incontinence. So the patients are getting evaluated for the incontinence like they should be. They're getting the multimodal assessments, they're getting their bladders tested. They're not just being fired upon and saying, let's see if it works. The treatments are being placed into context. So this is another issue where, just because the marketing and the sales rep at the meeting told you that it treats incontinence, doesn't mean that it treats all incontinence. And they didn't say how well it treats the incontinence. And you have to frame this into the discussion because part of the success of a cosmetic service is setting the expectation. If I set the expectation super high, I won't meet it. The patient's disappointed. If I set it super low and beat it, they're happy every time. And this is something that if you don't come from an aesthetic background, you don't understand. You're scratching your head like, why should I tell them it doesn't work so well if I'm trying to sell it? I say, because when it doesn't work so well, the patient won't be pissed off. And they won't be bad about it. You put it into context. When we treat patients for incontinence with the lasers, we always do a test treatment. And that test treatment is priced very low because the investment for the patient is very low. I already know that if it works, they're coming back because they're bypassing the pessary, they're bypassing drugs, and they're bypassing surgery. I already know they're coming back, so I can throw the $200 away. And if it doesn't work, well, I just saved them a $2,000, $3,000 investment and me having to discuss, what are we going to do about it didn't work? Why didn't you tell me? Why weren't you able to tell me? Why would you have me invest $2 or $3 grand when you're not even sure it's going to work for me? It's just common sense. If you're not experienced in these situations, you'll make that mistake a few times and you'll be sitting in the hot seat. Menopause is another example. It's been talked to death today, so I think you're starting to get a perspective on menopause and energy-based treatments, but you also have to integrate the hormonal treatments. There's nothing wrong with hormonal treatments. It's just the fear that drives people away. The contraindications are over-marketed because it's a good way to sell a laser. Always explain what you're treating the patients, put it into the context. Also explain what they don't do. Patients think these machines are magical. They think the treatments will do everything that they have been purported to do online by lay people, by marketing people, by doctors. They have no filter. I tell the patient, you and I can go through the same information online. You're going to believe all of it, and I'm going to filter out the good stuff. That's the difference of my background and training. I said, you have no filter. You don't know what's noise and what's real. So they come in with these notions that they have developed from researching, or whatever you call it, when you just absorb everything online. So you have to distill what actually the procedures do. Okay? Don't assume that because they heard about you and that you have X machine or Y treatment, that they understand that the expectation might be way off base. You're never going to be disappointing anybody if you set the expectations low. Hype is not a treatment. Marketing. I already told you how I crack into new procedures using my hairdressers. But it's not only the hairdressers. I do with the industry. I call them key opinion leaders in my neighborhood. So I have the gym owner, the wedding shop owner, the sales rep for everything that comes into my office. And I said, just spread the word. Have a party at your office, like a Botox party. You're not going to have a vaginal treatment party, but you're going to have a party to talk about the services. And maybe you have like a shaded out interview with the patient talking about it, just prefab on a video. But having a party brings people into the space. They're going to meet you. They're not going to be afraid of the treatments, afraid of the space. And create some content so that you can distribute it online and everywhere. In my office, we run LED TVs with continuous loops. Some is stuff from TV shows. Some is my own stuff that I'm trying to get into the patients. So while they're sitting there for a half hour, so they're getting educated. So when it's time to discuss the procedures, they already have a background, more or less. Put it online, put it on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. People are all over these things. When the internet got big, I was in my mid-30s, late 30s. My patients are a lot younger than that. They've been online their whole lives. And if you look in your waiting room, that's all they do is mess with their phones. If you're somewhere that can be gotten to on a phone, that's where they're going to be. And then interact online. I get about 5 to 10 consults a day just from interacting online. And it costs nothing. Sure, you got to put in a little effort, but it comes back. And if you interact online, that's where these people live. You're in their face, you're in their world. So I'm on Real Self all the time. I recommend it. If you're not on it, get on it. It's the biggest one for interacting online. It's easy enough. You just go on there, make your little profile, and boom, you're set to go. They'll tell you what you're allowed to advertise based on your specialty. But if you're not there, all they're going to see is me. So they're not going to come to you because you don't exist because you're not on their phone. Facebook, and then crush it on the customer service. Really go to bat. And if there's an unhappy patient, okay, because the treatment didn't work, do 10 more. Who cares? I would rather do treatment after treatment on these people. And they'll say, you know what? He's such a great guy. He doesn't care about the price of the procedure. He just wants you to have the result. In conclusion, If you have an integrated strategy that offers a multitude of services for patients and it applies to their entire life and all of their feminine needs, you're going to have a long-term client. And that's great for your business. And if you can establish your credibility and give the services with excellent customer service, they're going to stick with you and you're going to stand out because you're going to be really taking care of the patient. So thank you very much.